So in this lesson we will learn about the nucleus of the cell. The nucleus of the cell, in the case of animals, it occupies the central position here. Have you seen? It occupies the central position and it is like the control center of the cell. It controls all the activities of the cell. So it is a main control center of the cell. In animal cell, it is present in the center. Next, we will go to the structure of the nucleus. So here, this is the nucleus and it is now amplified. Nucleus, the outer wall is called the nuclear membrane. Here, this is the nuclear membrane. And this nuclear membrane is double layered. So we have the nuclear membrane, and this nuclear membrane is double layered. We can see it in the picture here. See, it has got one layer, double layer. It is thick and double layered here. And the nuclear membrane is not continuous. We have the nuclear pores. We've seen here, this is the nuclear pore. Here we have a nuclear pore. Here too, a nuclear pore. And what is the function of the nuclear pore? It allows the entry and exit of material into and out of the nucleus. Here outside is a cytoplasm. So through the nuclear pore, material enters the nucleus and leaves the nucleus. So we mark this nuclear pore, and in the nuclear pores, the function is entry and exit of material from the nucleus. Then within the nucleus, we have here a network of material. Have you seen here a network of thin thread-like structures? And that is called the chromatin network. The chromatin network. We will learn more in detail about this chromatin network and what it is made up of. So we'll see the difference between chromatin, material and chromosomes. Here is a non-dividing cell. Now in a non-dividing cell, here we have this whole network, an entangled mass of thread, and that is called the chromatin network. So here we mark it here, entangled mass of thread, called the chromatin network. Now when the cell is about to divide or is going to divide, now this is a dividing cell. When it is about to divide, this chromatin network arrange themselves in rod-shaped structures like this. These rod-shaped structures. And these rod-shaped structures are called chromosomes. So here the rod-shaped structures are called chromosomes. So when a dividing cell, when a non-dividing cell begins to divide, the network of chromatin becomes a rod-shaped structure called chromosome. Here in this figure, you can see the chromatin network. Have you seen? This is all the chromatin network here. And then slowly the chromatin network then turns into these rod-shaped structures here in this. Have you seen the rod-shaped structures? Here is an amplified picture of one rod-shaped structure. This rod-shaped structures, I told you, were called chromosomes. And these chromosomes, if you keep opening and increasing, amplifying it further and further, it looks like a ladder-shaped thing here. Have you seen this ladder? And that is called the DNA. So this is the DNA. You keep unraveling it, you keep magnifying it, and you get this ladder-like structure called the DNA. So here's another picture of the chromosomes. Here we have the nucleus. Inside the nucleus, in a dividing nucleus, we have the chromosomes like this. And this chromosome is made up of the DNA. Now the DNA is a very long molecule. DNA, it's a long molecule. What does DNA stand for? It is called deoxyribo. So that's deoxyribonucleic acid. That is the DNA. Now this DNA has got little segments that have been marked here. Have you seen? These are called the genes. These little segments of the DNA, one segment, the other segment, the third segment, and those are called genes. So the genes are functional segments of DNA. Okay, it's interesting, in this genes all our characteristics have been stored. Stores all our, what do you mean by characteristics? Characteristics are different features of our body. Have you seen the offspring is always similar to the parent? And that's because during reproduction, the DNA of the parent is transferred to the offspring. So the genes carry all the characteristics. They are the functional units of the DNA. Now chromosomes are made up of two things. We know that chromosomes are made up of the DNA, the long molecule DNA, and proteins. Okay, so let's just go over this quickly again. So we said these chromosomes are rod shaped and they are present only in the dividing cell. They are made up of a very long molecule called the DNA. It's a long molecule. It's deoxyribonucleic acid. And this DNA has got this little segments here called the genes, little parts called the genes. The chromosome is made up of DNA and proteins. In some cells like that of a bacteria, the nuclear region is undefined due to the absence of a nuclear membrane. So you can see here, in this cell, there is no proper, you cannot make out the nucleus. If the material is just kept here, there is no nuclear membrane. But here in this cell, this is a well-defined nucleus. See, this nucleus is well-defined. There is a nuclear membrane. Such cells which do not have a clear nucleus is called a prokaryotic cell. And a cell in which the nucleus is very clear is called a eukaryotic cell. Now nucleoid, due to the absence of a nuclear membrane, the nucleus is not well defined. Such a region is called a nucleoid, and that's present in a prokaryotic cell. These prokaryotic cells don't have a nuclear membrane, and hence the nucleus is not well defined. Such undefined nuclear region, due to the absence of a nuclear membrane, is called a nucleoid. The nucleoid contains the genetic material, the nucleic acid, but there is no nuclear membrane. We'll just go ahead and see some differences between the prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. Now in the prokaryotic cells, we see the nuclear region is undefined, whereas in the eukaryotic, the nucleus is well defined. Even other organelles also are well defined. Here in prokaryotic, the other organelles are not well defined. Here membrane bound organelles are absent. Why membrane bound organelles are absent? Because all the organelles do not have a membrane, just like the nucleus does not have a membrane. In this we have membrane bound organelles are present. So the main difference between eukaryotic and prokaryotic cells, prokaryotic do not have a distinct nucleus, like here no distinct nucleus, but this has a distinct nucleus.